The Message of Easter, Take 2, by Juliet Jensen.
The Message of Easter. Jesus was going to have his last supper with his 12 disciples. They prayed first for the food, and then Jesus washed their dirty feet. And one of his disciples said, "Why do you wash people's feet? Isn't that something not good?" And Jesus said, "If you want to do something hard, just try to do it." That's what he said. And so they started to eat. And before they ate, Jesus said, "Take this, all of you, and eat from it, for this is my body and will be given up for you. Eat this in memory of me." So Jesus passed the bread to his disciples. And next he said, "Drink this, all of you, for this is my blood, will be given up for you. Drink this in memory of me." So he passed the chalice of wine to his disciples. And quickly, one of his disciples went out of the building and he went to the guards and he said where Jesus was. And Jesus knew what was going to happen to him. So he told his disciples that, "Leave me, go." And his disciples said, "I'll never leave you. You are the Son of God. You have to leave me." So they went in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus was praying to God. And then the soldiers was coming. So he had to do this quick. But then, in the middle of the prayer, the soldiers found him in the Garden of Gethsemane. And John said, "This is Jesus. Let's take him away." So they took him away and they took him to a castle. And John had to stay outside. And the soldiers took his clothes off. And you know what they did? They spat at him, hit him with a rope, and they put him into his own clothes. And they made a crown made of thorns, and they put it on his head so hard so it can pierce his skin. So they took him to Jerusalem and made him take a heavy cross, and he saw 2 other men that were carrying heavy crosses too, but they wasn't been spitted, hitted, or none of that. They were stealing gold from people, and they had to be killed. So they walked to a hill, but in a minute later, Jesus falls on the ground for the first time. And then the soldiers got the rope and slapped it on his back. And Jesus had to get up very slowly. And he was walking and walking and walking and walking. And he fell for the second time. And and his mother Mary came to the front and took a tissue and wiped the blood off. But the guards took her to the crowd because she wasn't allowed to do that. And Jesus walked and walked and walked a bit more, and then he falls for the third time. And then the guards picked someone from the crowd, and he was from Africa, and he came to Jerusalem to help people. So he carried the cross for Jesus, and in a minute later they came to the hill, and the three men were put to the cross, and they took 3 nails, and they did Jesus. They done one hand doing with the hammer. He cried, and the second one he cried, and for his feet it was a sharp one. He cried a lot more, and the same for the other men. And Jesus was praying while he was on the cross, and the other men said, "If you're the Son of God, take us down this cross." And the other men said, "Don't say that. We deserve our punishment, but this man has done nothing." But in a minute later, they died. The next day, they took Jesus off the cross, and they put him in a white towel, and they took him to a tube, a grey tube, and they left him there on a rock with the blanket, and they rolled the circle rock, and they left him there. But on Easter Sunday, something very special happens. Mary goes to the grey tube, and he sees Jesus is not there, and she says, "Someone's stolen the body," and she sits down and she cries. But then Jesus appears. "Are you looking for someone?" Jesus said. And Mary says, "I am." And she says, "I'm looking for Jesus." "Well, if you're looking for Jesus, I'm right here." The end. That's fun.
Thank you, Juliet. Happy Easter.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to my story.